We have some big news coming in right this minute. China provokes yet again at the line of actual control. Clash on the intervening night of 30th August. India thwarts China's attempt at the line of actual control. Brigade Commander flag level meet is currently underway. Here we understand reports coming in of China provocating yet again at the line of actual control. Clash on the intervening night of 30th August. India thwarts China's attempt at line of actual control. Now currently as we speak, the Brigade Commander flag level meet is underway. Here we're looking at China. They're provoking yet again. Remember, months of clashes between India and Chinese troops right along the line of actual control eventually ended after high-level military talks between the two sides. Of course, a lot of resistance by China. They showed quite some resistance to try and maintain status quo, but eventually situation had come under control. China had also retreated in several of those points along the line of actual control. And now we hear that China has again made attempts to infiltrate. China there provoking yet again at the line of actual control. Clash on the intervening night of August 30th. India there thwarts China's attempt at the line of actual control. Let's quickly cut across to Gaurav Samant joining us on the phone line. Gaurav, here's trouble yet again brewing at the line of actual control. China, they're provoking at the line of actual control. Clash on the intervening night of 30th August and India thwarts the attempt. Take us through the details.
So this is a new front that Chinese tried to open on the night intervening 29th and 30th of August. So far, we've been reading about and writing about what's been happening on the north bank of Pangong Tso between Finger 4 and Finger 8 area. But this is on the south bank of Pangong Tso where the clashes took place on the night intervening 29th and 30th. That's an area where Indian Army has already been aggressively deployed, and that is the area where the Chinese tried to move in. Is what we are trying to what we've been told by our sources. They tried to move in terms of establishing a camp in what is very clearly Indian territory and not disputed territory. So the Chinese tried to come in. The Indians were ready and they pushed the Chinese back in this area. And this was the Chinese attempting to open a new front, Nabila, which was not permitted. There have been clashes. We are trying to ascertain what kind of clashes were these, whether there was like what happened at Pangong Tso and Galwan, whether weapons were used or was it a middle-age kind of clashes that had taken place with barbaric weapons and rods with barbed wires. All of that, we are still waiting for some clarity and the nature of injuries on either side. So that clarity is still awaited. But from what we've been told, the Chinese were pushed back. And right now there's a meeting of the brigade commanders of the two areas taking place at Chushul to sort out the issue.
Right, Gaurav, we understand that China has been resisting to come back to status quo as was prior to May. And we understand that Finger 4 area still seems to be a trouble along the line of actual control. Take us through the details. What's China's stance there on that?
You're absolutely right. In fact, despite committing at the level of army, military generals and diplomatically, China has been very slow and reluctant. China suggested that both sides move back a fixed amount of distance. But India said that's absolutely not done because India will not move back in our own territory. We will retain the territory that we have. It's the Chinese who made an aggression, and it's the Chinese who need to go back to pre-April 2020 situation, to which China has been reluctant while they claim that they agreed to that, but on ground they haven't done that either in Finger 4 area or in some other places. For example, at Galwan they moved back because in Galwan, as our latest report on military casualties on the Chinese side seems to indicate, they suffered casualties and some of those images are now in public domain. However, in Depsang, which was an earlier dispute, or in Gogra and Hot Spring, some Chinese troops remain, but not the numbers that could present a military threat. However, in the rear area, the Chinese still have two divisions that are still deployed, and until those divisions go back, Nabila, the situation along the line of actual control in Ladakh remains very tricky, where India is also extensively deployed and aggressively deployed in certain other areas. So it is not as if China has India on the defensive, but both armies are aggressively deployed, and it's for China, as External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said, we don't know why China is doing this. They need to realize whatever they are trying, perhaps they will not succeed.
Absolutely, Gaurav, expansionism, that's more or less what China is indulging in. Won't work with India. India has been quite clear. Indian troops there quite hardened in their position. Of course, China, they're facing quite some heat from across of the globe, considering they have not committed to their stance. In fact, they've not committed to their word. Time and again, even after military-level talks, they've been trying to infiltrate, trying to push, trying to instigate. And here, yet another provocation reported again at the line of actual control. Clash on the intervening night of August 30th. We have Abhishek Balla joining us live for more details on this. Abhishek, India thwarts China's attempts at the line of actual control. Right now, as we speak, Brigade Commander flag-level meet is underway. Take us through what really happened last night.
Well, Nabila, one of the most significant aspects of this fresh action at Pangong Lake is that, there was a lot of activity on the southern bank of the lake, and that's where this face-off has taken place now. There had been complete peace as far as the southern bank is concerned. This is the area which, neighbors the Chushul side on the Indian side and Moldo.
Right, we're going to try and patch Abhishek Balla yet again. Here is China there trying to push, trying to instigate at the line of actual control. Yet again, another round of provocation that's been reported in the intervening night of August 30th. Clash that was reported on the intervening night of 30th. India there thwarting China's attempts at the line of actual control. Remember, there's been several talks between the two sides, military-level talks, high command talks on how status quo must be maintained. But clearly here, China not sticking to its word. Gaurav, back to you. Even as attempts are being made on one hand, on the other hand, there are sources who also say that China is there building missile bases as well to support its action.
You're absolutely right, Nabila. If we were to look at the line of actual control in the Mansarovar Lake area, which is a holy shrine, which is very holy for Hindus in India, and Mount Kailash. In that area, China has deployed surface-to-air missile batteries and is now building permanent defenses. And that's a cause for concern. Even in eastern Ladakh, Chinese have been building permanent defenses. So contrary to what they've repeatedly told India that they're talking about withdrawing and restoration of status quo ante, China is actually firming up its deployment along the line of actual control in terms of digging trenches, in terms of carving out gun positions, in terms of their armor and artillery being in this area. Also, China has activated a number of airfields in Tibet. And Chinese President Xi Jinping has been talking about, more Han Chinese deployment or activities in Tibet. So this is a multi-pronged offensive being mounted by China as part of a much wider design and not just minor border skirmishes or face-offs that may have taken place in the past. There is a much bigger Chinese design that appears to be at play in Tibet and Xinjiang region.
Absolutely, Gaurav. Do stay with us. Let's quickly cut across to Shivarur joining us on the phone line. Shiv, here we're looking at China trying to instigate yet again. They're not sticking to their word. They've been trying to push at the line of actual control. And here we understand India has been thwarting China's attempts there. Even as we speak, the Brigade Commander flag-level meet currently underway. China there not hesitating to push through. What do we know of the clash that's ensued on the intervening night of 30th of August?
What we can confirm right now, first here in India today, Nabila, is that this was a violent clash between both sides. It happened on the intervening night of the 29th and the 30th of August. That was basically night before last. And it involved troops from both sides. The Chinese had apparently mounted the aggression and tried to change change their position by advancing forward in an area called Chushul. This is just south of the Pangong Lake on the southern bank. This is in fact not very far from where Indian and Chinese generals have been meeting for their for those lieutenant general level talks. So this is an area where there has already been quite a big Chinese build-up for many weeks now, and this was something that the Indian Army had also anticipated would happen, because there has been a steady build-up despite the disengagement, token disengagement rather, in some slash points, like for example in Pangong and in Galwan and other areas, the Chinese build-up in other areas was very, very visible. And therefore, the aggressive stance taken by the Chinese was something that was expected. But obviously, given the Chinese motive, the fact that there's very, very low trust in this area already, it looks like what the Indian Army had expected has actually come to light. And once again, the fact that it happened at night shows the insidious intent of the Chinese, that they wanted to see if they could occupy territory under cover of darkness. The Indian Army statement is very scant on details. It only says that this attempt has been thwarted and that there is a brigade-level meeting currently on in Chushul, Moldo. But I can confirm that this was a violent clash. We're expecting to get some figures and specifics on the damage that has been done and whether the status quo has changed on the ground. I fear that, given that there is a brigade-level meeting taking place right now, I think that there are going to be some pretty dramatic details coming out in the next few minutes, Nabila.
All right, Shiv, do stay with us. Let's quickly cut across to Abhishek Balla as well, joining us. Abhishek, China's aggression there again visible at the line of actual control. This is time and again that there has been talks between military chiefs of both sides, and China, at the face of it, appears to be willing to withdraw, but every single time there's a meet right after, there are reports of how they're trying to push along the line of actual control. So really not what really meets the eye. China, what they say, what they do, poles apart, never live up to their word. Absolutely deceiving.
Well, definitely, it's very clear that the Chinese have been dragging their feet when it comes to the disengagement process. It's been nearly 4 months now since the standoff began in early May. And of course, the Galwan clash was the worst when it comes to the face-offs that have taken place. There have been several since then. But after Galwan on 15th of June, there had not been any violence. And the fresh round of violence comes on the southern bank of the Pangong Lake, an area where there had been no tension up till now. So it's very clear that it seems that China has activated another front at the Pangong Lake. All the action was on the northern bank. In fact, the Chinese were not moving back from Finger 5 area, and the reason why tensions have been escalating is because they have been demanding that the Indian troops pull back from Finger 4, Finger 3 even further. That's something that's not acceptable to India, because that would mean a complete change of status quo. So by doing this, by initiating some kind of an action in the southern bank, the Indian Army has once again reiterated officially that this was an attempt to change status quo by China.
Right, Abhishek, we're looking at aggression, Chinese aggression there taking place on the intervening night of 29th and 30th. It's been over 24 hours. In the 24 hours, what has changed? Has there been any statement coming in from China as yet? What do the Indian military sources tell us really about what's happened? Has there been any injuries reported as such? What's been the damage so far?
Well, as far as the clash is concerned, we are yet to get, the minute details of it. But one thing I can confirm that I've heard from sources is that there has been a big mobilization in the Pangong Lake area, especially in the Chushul sector. That's where the meets between two armies take place. In fact, the movement has been taking place on the Indian side in the last 24 hours. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, that this is a new front which China has opened. And it's also important to note, Nabila, that as far as the southern bank of the lake is concerned, this is where the Indian Army is in a much stronger position compared to the Chinese. So what tactical advantage will the Chinese have by opening this front is something that we'll leave it to the experts to decipher. But I can just put out some simple facts that another change in status quo was attempted by China, and that too in an area where the Indian Army is in a position of strength. So that's something very important, and they were retaliated. Right. And obviously, one thing very significant that's been officially stated is that India was preempting this kind of action from China.
Absolutely. Abhishek Bala, do stay with us. Let's quickly cut across to retired General Gurmeet Singh, the defense expert, to tell us a little more. Mr. Gurmeet Singh, if you could take us through what's really happening along the line of actual control. We're seeing China upping its ante against India. And of course, India here we're looking at India resisting time and again, has been pushing back. In fact, here we're looking at CDS General Bipin Rawat, who also says very clearly that if at all military level talks fail, then India's military options are ready.
Absolutely, I agree with you. In fact, the difference between the incident which had happened on 15 June and the incident which you have reported regarding night of 29th and 30th is that this time we were prepared. We were, because on 15 June we have, the India and Indian Army has lost all trust in China and PLA. And the way Chinese and PLA have been aggressive, provocative, not only in the eastern Ladakh, but on all their fronts. So, and their delay tactics which were being followed by them in the talks, Indian side was prepared. But this time the major difference is that the response will be tactical and not operational. Because on 15 June, we had background of 45 years of peace and tranquility. There was a respect for agreement, protocol and practices, which the Chinese side themselves had dishonored at that time. But this time, Indian Army is prepared for any challenge or any contingency which is required in the scene. So the scene is very different from the earlier scene. And I would say that Indian side is prepared to thwart any attempt of transgression or changing of the status quo in this area. I think that is what is important. And at this critical time, the major difference is that India is prepared, India is ready for any contingency, and like what you quoted, the CDS saying that we are prepared for any options or whatever the directions on as far as the security in East Ladakh is concerned.
Right. General Gurmeet, if you could take us through Chinese upping its missile as well. It's also emboldening its infrastructure right along the line of actual control. They're not just pushing, but they're also pepping up and, in fact, pumping up their infrastructure to fight. Of course, like you said, India thwarting all efforts. But nonetheless, what does this really mean to India with China upping its infrastructure altogether along the line of actual control?
I think a continuous watch has been kept on this, be it the Khotan airfield or its preparation on the air defense arena, or I would say its preparation on all the fronts. You know, intelligence has been on, and especially when you are alert and prepared, definitely you keep all inputs with you because you are expecting them to do any folly. The blunders which China has been doing right from the time of COVID, and the blunder which it did on 15 June, one has been expecting because China doesn't seem to have changed its track. In fact, amount of lie, propaganda, media war, proxy, that it has been ensuing its own effort into it, the way it has been issuing the videos of exercises, etc. and all. Apart from that, India has been keeping a very, I would say, a focused look on all the Chinese preparation, not only in this area, but all across the border. In fact, I would say the world is keeping a check on what China is doing all around.
Absolutely.
Be it the South China Sea, East China Sea, or all the places. In fact, I would say that the entire world, and in particular, India is ready for any of these challenges and the conflicts which may be forthcoming in the times.
Undoubtedly, General Gurmeet, here we've also accessed, India today has accessed pictures of a war memorial, a grave that, in fact, China has just about readied. Here, images that show and establish a memorial right outside eastern Ladakh to commemorate the soldiers who've been sacrificed. Here, we're looking at several of those graves not having names and units as well. Of course, clearly an attempt by China not to reveal the numbers who succumbed right after the Galwan clashes.
Ma'am, you are absolutely right. There is one fact of life that the truth can never be kept under the carpet. China has been tracking the root of lies, propaganda and proxy. The truth can never be hidden. Now the truth is coming one by one. Initially we saw one grave, now we see in a grave 36 graves. And if you look at the media within China, it is saying that the China has lost the war. If you look into more detail, they have started appreciating our troops. They're appreciating the troops of the Bihar regiment. In fact, the truth which China and the PLA was trying to hide from their own people, from the world, it is coming out one by one, and it has got to come out. There is no two ways about it.
Right. Around the Manasarovar, which is a holy site for Hindus across of India, a huge pilgrimage that takes place every year. We're looking at Chinese upping their military infrastructure, missiles right around. What does that really speak of there, General Gurmeet?
Ma'am, basically the satellite intelligence, open source intelligence, and obviously you'll agree with me that armed forces will have the precise intelligence of all these things. And it is not only East Ladakh, it is all across the border. And I will say it is not only India-China border, it is all across all the front which the Chinas have got. And this is probably because their internal situation has deteriorated, because their public has started protesting and challenging their own leadership, because they have been following the wrong path for their own system. In fact, as far as Mansarovar and the Kailash Parvat is concerned, this is very poised to us, to all of us as Indians. And China trying to upgrade its missile system in that area, trying to improve infrastructure. But India is absolutely alert. India is prepared for any proactive action which is required to be done. In fact, this time the scene is different. Categorically, I would like to say, as on 15 June when the Galwan incident happened, at that time we had respect for the agreements that we've had with the Chinese since 1993. But the scene is different in the sense that we have no trust on China or the PLA at this juncture. So we are prepared for all these challenges which you have just enlisted.
Absolutely. General Gurmeet, thank you very much. But we're going to come back to this. Of course, India-China tensions, they're again escalating along the line of actual control. Reports suggest that China has been trying to intrude again along the LAC right in the intervening night of 29th and 30th. It's been 24 hours now. The amount of damage is yet to be calculated.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.